Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good night. It's day 3, and day 3 of our no complaining challenge. Have you ever noticed that two people can go through the same thing, go through the same challenge, and one person walks away with a defeated mindset and the other person walks away feeling stronger? I mean, I see it because of the nature of my day-to-day work. Two guys, same problem. One of them has a positive attitude, the other has a negative attitude. And the one thing that changes is the lens through which they experience whatever they're experiencing. And I think that's the same for us. Our perspective, our decision to choose how we see events is going to determine what we complain about. And so today we're going to talk about gratitude. And I think gratitude is the lens that we can look through that changes everything. And so today is not just about having the general gratitude that most people have. I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for that. It's about understanding that gratitude is one of the most powerful forces available to transform how we experience things, how we participate with reality. And not because it magically changes the world around us, but because it changes what's inside of us. It changes our chemistry, our physiology. And if you remember from our previous videos, we don't just experience reality, we experience our interpretation of reality. Because if we experience reality, everybody would experience the same reality. And we don't. You put two people in the same rainstorm, thunderstorm, and one is going to complain, "Oh, my picnic is ruined." And the other, if they're a farmer, they're grateful. Because, their farm or their crops finally have some water. The rain is the same, but the meaning they both gave behind the rain has changed. And this is common knowledge. We all know this. We all know that the events, the circumstances, whatever happens outside of us don't determine how we respond. It's the meaning we assign to those events. And we also talked about the questions that our mind is constantly asking. Why is this happening? What does this mean? Is this good or bad? And those answers become our experience. So if your mind is constantly searching for proof that life is unfair, guess what? You're going to become good at finding evidence to confirm what you believe. And if your mind is constantly searching for evidence that life is full of gifts and that you're constantly receiving, and you'll become good at finding those too. Your brain is going to become exceptionally good at what it repeatedly practices. Okay? And complaining is a practice. So is gratitude. And so today we're going to practice gratitude. Before we get into deep gratitude and what we're going to practice, I want to talk to you about something that I've been hearing a lot about. And I encourage you to do your research on it. And it's a part of the brain called the reticular activating system. It's almost like the Google of the brain. It's like your mind's search engine. And so every millisecond, I don't know what the exact measurement is, but millions, maybe hundreds of thousands of information are competing for your attention. You walk into a room, your brain can process millions, the color of the wall, the door, so many things. But your brain can't process that. It can't process everything. It's like a filter. And so the RAS, the reticular activating system, it filters what it sends to you based on what you've programmed it to believe is important. And if some of you have seen this experiment where you want a certain color car, let's say you want a Maybach or you want a Toyota Camry. Now suddenly you start seeing Toyota Camrys everywhere. And so I believe that this goes in line with our beliefs and our expectations. If you are someone who expects opportunity, you'll begin to notice doors of opportunity open that were always there. And gratitude is the same way. Gratitude, you start to look for things to be grateful for. You start to intentionally acknowledge the blessings, and your brain starts to look for evidence that life has abundance. The more you're grateful for, the more you're going to look for things to be grateful for. And again, this is not pretending about the problems that we have that don't exist, that they don't exist, but it's refusing to become blind to everything else. Okay, so you have a problem with your car, for example, but it doesn't mean you can't be grateful for your shoes. The problem may be with your engine. You can't be grateful for the seats in the car. Just as an example, there's so many things that we can be grateful for, but when we start complaining, it takes away our gratitude muscles, so to say. And now the focus has been shifted to complaining. And there's some research that is out there. And again, you do your own research on this, but it shows that practicing gratitude, it can lead to stronger relationships, greater resilience, and just overall better well-being. And when you go deeper, if you imagine your lower consciousness as like a radio, okay? And if you know anything about radios, you know that they broadcast frequency. So every thought, every belief, every emotional pattern that you have, it's tuning that radio. Okay, so gratitude is not just changing your mood, it changes the frequency from which you perceive life. When you are in a complaining mode, again, your attention is being narrowed. Everything becomes about lack, scarcity, comparison. But what gratitude does, it expands your awareness. When you start to become grateful, you start to notice things that you didn't when you were in the complaining mode. You start to notice people, ideas, connections. And whether you describe this as, alignment or expanded consciousness, the result is the same. Gratitude opens up a channel. It widens what you're able to perceive. And many people experience this as life is opening up. And some people describe it as attracting opportunities. I think it's just becoming aware of opportunities. I think that those opportunities were always present, but we just weren't able to see them. But either way, gratitude is the way you move through the world in peace. And in 1 Thessalonians, it says, give thanks in all circumstances. And we talked about this yesterday, not for all circumstances, but in all. And it's very important to make the distinction because we don't need to celebrate everything. We don't celebrate evil. But I think it's an invitation for us to recognize that no circumstance has the authority to determine how we respond or the condition of our hearts. And gratitude is something that we can exercise with freedom. Gratitude says, this situation might have hurt me, it might have irritated me, it can influence me in many different ways, but it does not define me. And Jesus did this repeatedly. Remember before he turned the few loaves into thousands? First thing he did, he gave thanks. Even knowing that suffering was ahead, gratitude was part of his daily posture. And gratitude wasn't a reaction to abundance. It was what came before abundance. Because a lot of times we think, I'll be grateful when, I'll give thanks when. Give thanks now. And when we look at why we are not giving thanks, sometimes it is the complaining. Because complaining, it's a habit. It can be a habit, and it's a habit of attention. Okay, let's be honest. Most complaints are not solving anything. It's just a rehearsal. Every time we repeat the same complaint, we're doing something. It's like the path in the forest. You keep walking in that path, you're making it more pronounced. And when we repeat the same complaint, we're strengthening a neural pathway in our brains, in our minds. The complaint becomes familiar. The familiar becomes automatic. The automatic starts to become part of our identity. And eventually, it's not just about complaining. We become complainers. And the opposite is also true. If we let our gratitude feed our emotions and our beliefs, then the gratitude becomes the identity through repetition. And it's not about one thankful thought, just like one negative thought won't destroy your life. But when you have thousands of thankful thoughts throughout the day, hundreds of thankful thoughts throughout the day, those begin to shape who you become. So for today, we're going to continue to notice every complaint, and we're not going to be judging. Just notice it. And when you catch one, take a deep breath, pause, and ask a few questions. Number one, what can I genuinely appreciate right now about this opportunity? Number two, what is this thing that I'm complaining about teaching me? And who am I becoming because of this experience? And watch what happens, not around you, but inside of you. And if you imagine ending today having complained half as much as yesterday, imagine ending this week noticing the blessings you previously ignored. They've always been there. You just ignored them because of the complaining. And imagine ending this month with the mind that naturally just looks for possibility instead of limitation. And that's what we're doing here in this 30-day journey. We're training. And it's not about fake positivity or denial. It's about attention, putting our attention back, shifting our perspective back on positivity, things that actually grow us, make us better, character building. And so in continuation of our challenge, for the next 24 hours, every complaint has to be followed by an expression of gratitude. And not because you're ignoring reality, but if you complain about something or someone, I'm pretty sure there's something to be said that's good about that person. And this is the training that we're going to embark on. You're training your mind to see reality more completely. So remember, there's always something wrong, always. But there's also always something beautiful. There's always something that you can take notice of that's good. Where your attention goes, your life is going to flow. So today, choose gratitude, but not because it's perfect, not because life is perfect, but because your perspective is becoming stronger than your circumstances. I'll see you tomorrow for day 4.